boy, this episode went ham. This is what is Incredible Man. Yes, I am back at it again, and this is Gleipnir episode 2 discussion / review. Before I can even get into the episode, man, we have to give credit where credit is due. The animation was on point. The episode itself was straight and literally fire. It was fire. Now, throughout this episode, it reminded me of a bunch of other anime. But before I dive into all of that, let's get into this discussion.
Just take it, don't wait for someone to break it. Take control, then don't just take it. Hey, you can make it happen. You just gotta take some action. Take the ship and be the captain.
Now, this episode, I want to say picked up after last week's episode. But before it picked up into last week's episode, it gave us a, what is it? Flashback leading into this week's episode and giving us the information. Because we didn't have all of the facts. We wasn't seeing the full picture. We were only getting half. But this episode gave us the full broad spectrum of the picture. And what it is, the picture or whatever, is we see... Remember last week's episode when we saw the whole camera and everything where it was glitching out, and then the girl went to the vending machine and the coin and the person or whatever. Now, at that point, I assumed that she put the coin in the vending machine and the person came out and the person had something. I thought the person was like the monsters or whatever. But that's not the fact. She put the coin in the vending machine and released this dude. Now, this dude, I'm assuming, is the creator / owner of the coins. And he wants them all returned to him, but I'm assuming they're scattered all over the place. So this girl happens to find one of them. She puts it in the vending machine, and all of a sudden he appears, and he grants her a wish. And then we go back into her backstory to find out why she wanted a wish. Now, we see her at high school, and she was on the track team or something, and maybe she got hurt or something, and she was losing to some underclassmen, and she didn't qualify for like an inter-high or something, I'm assuming, and she was upset. But I know it was something revolving with her in school, and then her not being able to make something like the inter-high. Now, the thing with that is, she was so upset, I'm assuming, because she couldn't make it. So she went there, and the dude was granting out and handing out wishes. And he made her stronger, faster, whatever, but it came with a price. And that price was she became a monster. Now, we know from watching Shinchi that Shuichi. Did I say Shinchi? Anyway, Shuichi, that we see that the monsters have one regular eye, and then the other eye is kind of like a little cross. Now, the monsters themselves, I'm assuming, are all kind of related to either transforming or enhanced physical abilities that allow them to transform. In Shuichi's case, we have him transforming fully. Now, the girl, I know her name, I can't think of her name either. She transforms on her arms and on her legs. It's all that transformed, and of course, her eyes change. Now, oh boy. After that, we see her running and everything, and she's transforming midway through, and she goes behind the building and transforms. Then we jump back to present day and everything that's actually going on, and we see Claire, Shuichi, and this girl back in Claire's apartment, picking up right after the events of last week's episode. And it's going down. Claire's still trying to get some questions, and this chick is beating the brakes off Shuichi. And Claire hits her with some pepper spray, and Claire wants Shuichi to finish her off. But we all know Shuichi, he's timid, and he just wants the things that go in life as a normal, everyday thing. But he decided to save Claire, and they just escaped. But Claire was telling him that now she's seen their face, and they've seen her face. She came there to kill us, for one. She came there to kill them, and Claire's trying to get that point across to Shuichi. But in this whole episode, with all of this happening and her trying to kill them and everything, I felt like, okay, well, if she gets killed or beaten up or something, it's justified. But I felt sorry for the chick because at this point we're at I want to say maybe like a train yard or something. Anyway, something with a whole bunch of shipping containers. And we see Shuichi and Claire there, and we see that the zipper has an actual use on the back of his back. And Claire opens it, she gets inside, and one thing I love about the anime is, like I said at the very beginning, the animation quality is phenomenal. But once she opened the zipper and like once she got ready to get inside Shuichi, the animation of him when he's transformed changed completely. It looked super realistic. Like everything else was animated to perfection, but like at that moment, the animation for Shuichi changed while he's transformed, and we see the eyes starting to glow a little bit. So it looked nice. It was very pretty. But she then she slipped this out of him, and she was like, "Oh, it's all sticky." And then the angles they were showing with her and the other chick throughout this episode for the ecchi parts. Now, I'm going to touch on the ecchi part for a moment. Let's be real. We all know that they're fine. But I love the fact that the ecchi is only there as the most comedy or comical moments. It's only shown at like the super undercut or side angles and everything, but it's only there for the comedy. When it comes to like the straight hardcore rawness of this show, the ecchi is thrown out the window, and I loved it. And that's why I said this episode reminded me of a lot of anime. High School DxD. The ecchi parts are funny and they're comical and they're pretty much all over the place in High School DxD. But when they get serious and it's time for a fight, all the ecchi is out the window. And then until like at the end of the fight and it's all over, and then they try to bring it back into the comedy realm and take away from some of the seriousness to kind of ease everything that happened. So I love the fact that like leading up to a fight or something like that, they bring in all the ecchi and the shots and angles. But when it's time to actually have a seriously fight, all of that's out the window. Because when it was said and done, she climbed inside Shuichi, and I love that because now they're like super connected. They can feel everything. They can feel each other's emotions and everything. And then that's when the chick pops up and they get into a full-fledged fight. And that fight granted it reminded me of Index or a Scientific Accelerator or whatever. It reminded me of all of them, but the fight, man, it was so dang. Claire knows moves. Claire is a straight boss, and she was mollywhopping this chick. This chick was getting the best of them while Claire was trying to figure out the movement inside of Shuichi's body. But once she figured it out and she got a hang of it, she was rocking this chick. One scene where when they were fighting, they were throwing blows, and she hit this chick so hard the whole side of her face got red, and then just smashed her head inside on the side of the shipping container. They were going hardcore. They left big impacts all over the shipping yard and everything wherever they were. They were going at it. And one thing that I love was the choreography that the fight was taking place with in the camera angles, because it gave us different angles for each part of the fight, like up, down, side. It was good. They followed it. The cinematography in this episode for the fight was absolutely phenomenal. The animation, the score that was... I have no qualms about this show at all. And so in the end, they beat the chick, and now Claire wants information, because as we learned at the end of the show, her sister also was turned by... Well, she wasn't turned. The dude granted her a wish as well, and she became a monster, and she ended up killing their parents. So that's why Claire is so worried and so hurt and so anxious to find out what these coins mean. So she's torturing the chick to try to get information. She didn't mean to torture her at first. She asked her straight up. The chick didn't want to tell her. So she decided to take it, and she twisted her leg. She twisted her leg completely. Her leg wrapped around like it was nothing. And I felt so sorry for her. At that moment, I felt sorry for the chick, because now granted she was trying to kill them first, and it was completely justified. But in that moment, we saw like some regret in her mind and why she was doing what she done. And that didn't make it right, but it made me understand, and I felt for her a little bit, and I felt sorry for the chick, man. But that didn't help her, because she decided not to talk and everything, and she was trying to kill them. So Claire took the gun that was on Shuichi's hip with him transformed and shot her. Now, I thought it was a toy, but it was a real gun. Boy, come on, man. This anime is balls. Like, let's be real. I need to look up the creators and stuff, but nobody would have. whoever thought of this is epic, man. This is boss. So then after that, we see them kind of relaxing, and it's been a week, and we see Shuichi's kind of going through some things, but he doesn't let it affect his everyday life. And then him and Claire have a serious conversation, and it talks about her sister, and that's where we learn about her sister. And then at the very, very end of the episode, after everything is done, we see the same dude that granted the girl's wish with some other chick that looks like maybe she's a stalker of Shuichi's, and she has the little teddy bear hanging off of maybe her like her backpack or something, and she wants to make a wish on someone else. The dude grants wishes, but she wants to make a wish on someone else. And if you got common sense, you know that the teddy bear on her keychain, it definitely reverts to Shuichi, because at the end we also see a picture of her, or maybe it's her kind of looking at Shuichi, and she's like, she wants to make her wish for someone else. Dude, this anime, I mean, like, I know there's a manga to it, but like for me, it came out of nowhere, and I absolutely love it. Hands down, perfection. I love every single moment of it, man. And I know this video is like super long, but it was just so much fun to talk about this episode because so much stuff went down. It was very informative, and just the overall action of it was just straight boss, man. This is your boy Nick Incredible, man. Don't forget to smash the like button till you can't smash any more. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them and subscribe. But only if you really want to, man. Remember that anime matters, anime is greatness, and anime is life, man. Peace out.
Are we gonna play now? Ready for the show? I'm about to take down, you already know. Get the fuck out of my face now, yeah, you gotta